All right, diets. Do they actually work? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's what we're going to talk about today in this episode of the Mind Body Food Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Zach Scholl, and as always, I have my co-host with me, registered dietitian Jillian Foley. Jillian, how are we doing today? Whoops, not supposed to ask you that.
I'm not telling you, and I'm not asking you. I don't care how you're doing.
Yeah, we have a running gag on the show. We're not supposed to ask each other how we're doing because you never know how someone's doing, and you might get what you asked for. So you might ask someone how they're doing, and they might give you their life story. So the running joke is on here is that we're not supposed to ask each other that, but I forgot our rule. So I asked Jillian how she's doing.
How are you doing, Zach? Should I return it?
You don't even want to know.
No, I probably don't.
Today, we're going to talk about why diets don't work because we don't like to use the D word around here. Because why don't we like diets, Jillian?
Well, I think people love diets and I think they love dieting, but I think it defeats the point. No one's that I've seen, I don't like to use words like no one or never, but damn near every person that's ever been on a diet, then they start right back where they were. And then they think that they have to get back onto that thing or onto that program or onto that plan that got them there in the first place. So
yeah, I feel like a diet just kind of like puts you in a different mentality and mindset where you kind of set yourself up for failure, right?
Well, it defeats the point, right? So like everyone, so people might say like, I want to lose weight, or I want to be a healthier weight so that my knees feel better, or I want to be a healthier weight so that I can get my blood sugar under control, so that my doctor doesn't put me on that medication, whatever it is. But dieting is very short-sighted because there's always going to be pizza and ice cream and cookies. So when you are on a plan that goes, nope, no carbs, or no pizza for 60 days or 75 hard days, whatever it is, then what? And so then you are given this hardcore regimen, these rules to follow, but then what happens when you get back into the real world?
Right. Because yeah, it's all about the real world and your day-to-day life. And, you know, as soon as you restrict yourself on something, the human nature is to want it even more, right?
Absolutely. And then you become all or nothing, and you don't know how to live in the gray area. You're either on this plan or off this plan. And it's like, oh, you had 4 slices of pizza. So how about next time you go out, you try to only have 2? No. Next time I go out, I'm not having any pizza because carbs are bad. Okay, well, let me know how that works out for you, because last time you were out, you had 4, right? It's all, and I'm a broken record, but you got to learn about yourself. And dieting, I always joke with people, every diet you've ever tried and been on leaves like this small scar, and then you're like messed up from it a little bit more.
So you would say there's a difference between a plan and a diet, right?
Well, a diet is a plan, but it's someone else's plan, right? It's someone else's plan. And you can follow someone else's rules, but in a world where you have autonomy, are you going to follow rules for the rest of your life, or are you going to create your own relationship with the plan and the rules within the world that you live in?
Just the whole dieting thing so fascinating. Probably, I've tried a ton or whatever, and a lot of people have tried them, but it's like there's a reason why they don't work. It's like not natural.
Yeah.
It's not like you said, it's not your day-to-day life.
There's also a reason, though. I'm going to argue against that. I'm not arguing against it, but there's also a reason that they still keep popping up, though, right? Think about it. We all say we don't like diets. I can ask damn near every patient. Like I always joke, I'll have someone come in, they'll be like, I'm done. I'm tired of dieting. I'm tired of being told I can't have this. I want to learn about it. I want to have a better understanding of it. And I'll go over it, and they'll be like, so you're not going to tell me like what to eat? And I'm like, you're not even far off. We just added a couple more things in here, and I think this would be good for you. And you agree that this goes with your lifestyle. And they're like, but like, what am I supposed to eat for breakfast tomorrow? Like, I don't know. How about the same thing you've been doing? What's wrong with a couple eggs and a slice of toast? Or what's wrong with a slice of toast? Or what's wrong with peanut butter and jelly toast? Well, I mean, nothing, I guess, but like this plan I was on before, they said no bread. You know, I don't know. I feel like even though people say they don't want to diet, they ultimately want to diet.
What do you mean?
I think people want gimmicky, right?
Yeah.
Like, people want to drop 20 pounds in 6 weeks. They don't want it the slow and steady wins the race way. They want to be told that they need to go to the store and buy acai berries and different types of juices, and they're going to put it together, right? Weren't you asking about the what was it? The Beyoncé diet?
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Is that because you want to be more like Beyoncé?
Yeah, I'm thinking about starting a singing and dancing career, and I need to lose 20 pounds in a week. So how do I do that?
You can drink cayenne pepper. What is it? Cayenne pepper, lemon,
Let's see.
maple syrup.
Googling the Beyoncé diet.
Can I be honest? I tried it.
And how did it go?
Listen, I used to be gimmicky. I was always looking for the thing that allowed me to drop really quick so that I could eat whatever I want later on or something. I don't know. How did it go? I was freaking starving and lightheaded, and I knew better because I was in school for nutrition.
So
Then, because I felt bad and had guilt, I finagled the rules and I let myself have raw vegetables and raw fruit because, like, I get it. I wanted to be gimmicky. When I first went to school and they were like, eat well, I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, I don't want to just eat well. I want to know what berry is going to be better for my skin. Like, we're all looking for that cure or answer, right?
Yeah, we talked about like the all or nothing mentality before, and it's kind of like that's what I guess people are looking for is a all or nothing shortcut, which don't work, right? Shortcuts and all or nothing doesn't work.
Didn't I think I was telling you about it, but I know I've talked to a lot of my patients about it. Ethan Suplee, he was the bully from Boy Meets World. Look him up if you guys don't know who he is. He was also in.
He was in Remember the Titans.
Yeah, I never saw it, but that's what people will say to me. So the one day I'm listening to Joe Rogan, and he happens to be on it, and I'm like, I'm listening, and honestly, Ethan Suplee, the name wouldn't even come to me. I'd be like, who is that? And he was like, I knew how to lose weight. He was like, I knew how to go, all right, here comes Monday. I'm cutting off my friends. I'm not going out to eat. I'm not getting pizza. I'm dropping 50 pounds. I'm following that plan. I'm killing it in the gym. He was like, I knew how to be all. He's like, and then I'd lose it. Then I'd go back into reality. I'd put it all back on. I'd get really fed up with myself. And then I'd do it again. Okay. Now comes that plan. I'm going to follow that plan. I'm deleting all these fast food things off of my phone. He was like, years and years of it. And he's like, it occurred to me that my goal was wrong. Is your goal to lose a quick 20 pounds so you can look better in whatever, so you can put it back on 3 months from now because you still haven't figured out what makes you tick? Right. And so then that's when he had this aha moment. He even said, I mean, it was years ago, I listened to it, but he even said, like, even though he's like ripped now and looks great and he's like super built, he said because he wanted to make sure he like trickled into it slowly, he was like, he wouldn't even kill it in the gym. He just started out with walking. He was like, I'm just walking. I'm not killing a million calories in the gym. He's like, I'm trickling in. I'm just going to start walking. And he did it the right way. And he said he's been successful for years. But he took a different approach. He didn't say pizza's off. He said, like, how can I live with this thing that's going to be there forever anyway? But that's like, don't you kind of have to get to a breaking point for that?
Yeah, I think that, or somebody just has to teach you. You don't really know what you don't know. So like, yeah, I think it's a bit of both where, you know, you just might not realize that you need to, it's a daily habit and it's not like a crash diet where it'll, things will change in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I think eating well is and when I say eating well, I mean like having a decent relationship with food. I don't mean like eating organic eggs and never having fast food. And when I say eating well, I mean like, so here's the ratio. I don't know if I ever told you my ratio, but this is my ratio. Like I always tell people, I don't want you 100%. I know that sounds bizarre. Like, why would your dietitian tell you, I don't want you taking in, I don't want 100% of the food that you consume, like, to be really good for you. But those boundaries, those rules are just, they're impossible. You will never be perfect. I'm not perfect. I work with athletes. I'm personally friends with like bodybuilders. No one eats perfect. Take those perfect people for a second off the pedestal and know that if you think you need to eat 100% and you are striving at eating 100%, that's your biggest failure right there, right? So like my thing is, I want people to eat 85% well. I do get that means like 15% of your food is crap, but whatever, right? 15% of the time you have wiggle room. So you gotta pick through your cheats. Like I know I've said on here before when I do like, when I make fun of my dad, that the tasty cakes don't do it for me anymore. I'm not blowing it on tasty cakes anymore. Back when I had diet mentality, I was either perfect or blowing through like all of the tasty cakes, right? Now I don't need it. Maybe if they're around, I might take a couple bites. It doesn't do it for me. I don't want that to make up my 15%. But 100% of the time, you need to be open to learning, open to being reflective, open to knowing that you're going to mess up and re-strategizing. And that's how you become a decent eater. And my way takes longer. A lot longer. But you know what?
It works.
At the end of the road, you're no longer a binge eater with a really negative association with food. Because like I look at it like this, there's more important shit to worry about. You're gonna worry about eating all day long every day.
Yeah, I mean, and it works. It takes a little longer, but I think it can be overwhelming if you have a lot to lose, a lot of weight to lose, and how long it could take.
I do get that it is overwhelming when you have a lot to lose. Back when like when I was in school for nutrition and we learned about bariatric like nutrition or like surgery, I remember thinking like, man, if you just like learn to eat well and it'll come off. And it's funny, I used to be a bariatric dietitian, and to be in that setting and to see the work that goes in, like if you think about it, I had to work to take off like what? At most 40 pounds, right? But I get it. Imagine having to lose 100, 150, 200, 250. Like even to take 20 pounds off takes so much effort. Actually, when I say so much effort, I don't mean like you're killing it in the gym, but I mean like mental effort. And then on top of that, to not even see it. So I do get how like feeling frustrated, feeling like there's got to be something else out there. There's got to be a plan. There's got to be a trick that I just haven't heard of. I do get that. I really do understand it. I've been there.
Yeah, and then it goes back to like, sorry, I was trying to share our live link on your page to see if it'll work.
It's looking, but it's not even seeing me. I can hear me.
Yeah, because I was just playing the link. I'll just post it on your page, see if that works. But anyway, so it's overwhelming, and then it's like you get self-defeated. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, especially with these not hardcore crash diets, but like keto and the other diets. I think now's a good time. We said we're going to talk about the different types of diets, so maybe we should. But I think the common thing with all of them is like as soon as you stop doing them, you just revert back to your old habits, and that's kind of why they don't really work.
Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, the reason any diet works is calories in, calories out. That's it. So if you're losing weight, it's because whatever plan you are on has you at a calorie deficit, right? So let's talk about keto and Atkins for a second. Keto and Atkins are like damn near the same thing. Dr. Atkins invented keto years ago, or the Atkins diet. I'm sure there was one before that, but maybe he just popularized it. I don't know. So now you have keto, and the point is that you are eating damn near no carbs, like damn near. If you're truly, truly doing it right, I don't think you're supposed to get more than like 20 grams a day. You will see very quick results with that on the scale, but that's because your body stores water in your muscles. It stores carbohydrates, it stores glycogen. So if you're no longer carrying glycogen in the muscles because your carb intake is low, you're going to lose a shit ton of water weight. And then what happens is people get on the scale and they're like, oh my God, I just started this diet plan and I'm down like 10 pounds in a week and a half. So then what it does is, and I'm not knocking it, I get it. It builds momentum. Let's say you do it my way. And I'm like, look, I want you to eat well. I want you to learn what your trigger foods are. If you find that when you come home and you tend to go to the snack cabinet, maybe you take a walk first, talk to yourself, see if you're going to give into it or not. But when you do keto, there is no chips. There's no pretzels. There's no bread. There's no potatoes. There's no overeating that, right? And not to mention, you step on the scale and you're down dramatically because of the water weight. That spawns momentum, right? It's instant gratification versus long-term. And trying to learn to eat well, unfortunately, is long-term gratification. There's ways that you can find small wins. Like we've talked before about like track it on a calendar, write your workouts down on a calendar. There's something very gratifying about being like, oh, look at that. Compared to last week, I did a little bit better with that. Like you can find small ways to gratify yourself for those small little wins. But if your sole focus is that scale, then keto is going to work better for you because you lost 7 pounds in a week. And it's not body fat. No one ever comes in and I'm like, oh, so what's your goal? And they're like, just really tired of this water weight. They're tired of their body fat, but keto still has the scale go down. And if you're hyper focused on the scale, you're thinking that every time you're going to get some dramatic results that you have to be super low carb. And so that is how I feel about keto and Atkins. Not to mention, with keto and Atkins, you're on a high fat diet. You're on a high fat, high protein diet. Why? Because there'd be nothing else to eat, right? And you got to really be careful. I had a patient not too long ago. She had success, and I might have spoke about her before, but she had successfully lost, God, I can't remember. Was it 20 or 30 pounds? At any rate, she ended up, and it was through keto. She ended up with like a fatty liver, really high cholesterol levels. So it's like, at what cost? And then not to mention, once she started reintroducing like fruits and stuff like that, she appeared to be putting on weight. And it's like, you're not putting on weight. Your body has carbs in the muscle. It's water weight, but it messes with you. Right? Like, wouldn't that mess with you? Even if I was like, Zac, it's a banana. The banana did not do this to you. You'd be like, yeah, but I'm telling you, man, look, that's your voice. But I'm telling you, ever since I started adding fruit and I'm putting weight back on, I know it's got to be the sugar. I mean, and this ties back to the last podcast that we had. Like, no wonder everyone's blaming it on the sugar.
Yeah, and then it's just like, it's such a roller coaster. This stuff will drive you crazy, and then you think you lost 20, and then like you said, you'll gain some back, but you're not really gaining it back, and then you get upset, and then you just say screw it, and then you go back to your old habits. It's just like, it's a whole up and down roller coaster.
Yeah. Then you have intermittent fasting, And that's the whole principle, that if you fast a certain amount of time, that your body is going to utilize the calories, the fat stores that you have, and then it's going to play around with your metabolism, and then you're going to burn. But in those hours that you're eating, if you're eating more calories than your body requires, then that doesn't work either, right? I'm always like, show me the diet that goes, all right, Jill, on any given day, you burn 2,000 calories. So you need to eat fewer calories than your body requires. But on this diet, you're allowed to have 2,500 and you'll still lose. I will join that diet. I would like to eat an additional 500 calories and not put on weight. But it doesn't exist. It doesn't work like that.
So, but intermittent fasting does work, but you have to eat in your hours of eating. You still have to eat correctly, right? Or you don't recommend it at all.
Intermittent fasting only works if you have a calorie deficit. Keto only works if you have a calorie deficit. Atkins only works if you have a calorie deficit. The Beyoncé diet only works because, of course, you have a calorie deficit. You're not allowed to eat food. Right? Paleo only works if you have a calorie deficit. Weight Watchers only works if you have a calorie deficit. I feel like there's a theme here.
So I have a stupid question for you. How do we have a calorie deficit every day?
By eating fewer calories than your body requires.
Right, but if it was that easy, we wouldn't, I don't want to be mean, but we wouldn't be so fat. America is fat.
Well, it's not that easy. I mean, that always goes back to what I say of like, we have far too much food available. We're super lucky for it. Like truly, if all of human existence, we didn't have enough food. I mean, I don't know when, but like when was the refrigerator even invented? Like how long have we had electricity? Is that a dumb question?
I'm Googling when was the refrigerator. Bring it up, Jamie. When was the refrigerator invented?
Did Thomas Edison invent the refrigerator?
1913.
So since 1913, we've had refrigerators. Before that, we were putting our shit on ice blocks or something. Like, or we were probably putting a lot of salt on it to preserve it. So like, we didn't have food. Now we have food and we overeat because our hormones have been mutated. Is that the word I want to look for? Developed. Evolved.
Devolved.
Evolved.
Yeah.
Hormones have been evolved to make us want to eat food. You're stressed out. What do? You want to eat. You want to go to Taco Bell. You want to go to Pizza Hut, right? You're having a really bad day. You're kind of feeling lonely, like no one likes you today. What do you want to do? You want to eat, right? Oh man, I just did a good job. What do you want to do? I want to eat, right? Why is that?
Because food is just like instant. It's like a drug. It's like instant gratification. Like you eat it. It's an experience, and you eat it. Then it, goes in your mouth, goes to your brain.
But it exists for a reason.
Right. Well, that got lost along the way somewhere, right?
Yeah, it got lost in the past like 40 years or 50 years or how old am I? It got lost is the point.
Right. With when when fast food started coming around and stuff, that's probably
sure. So that's why, to answer your question of like if it's that easy, work a calorie deficit. I think the statistics are something like 75% of Americans are overweight or obese. Why is that? Because we have a lot of food available. We don't understand our hormones. We don't understand our hunger hormones. We don't even understand our emotions. We think we're so unique when we have anxiety and stress and we want to eat something. You're not unique. That's not the first time it happened. It happens to everyone. Otherwise, why are we all walking around like this with heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure? Right? So even though I say it's an easy answer, you need a calorie deficit, it's not that easy. There's a slew of things that you have to work on with yourself to be able to figure those things out. And for every diet you've ever been on, you have a shit ton more of things that you need to work on to balance out your relationship with your food, with your hormones, with your anxiety, with your depression, with your childhood favorite food, with whatever, right? But it's a game of calories in, calories out. And I think I've said this before. The latest diet is the non-diet. It's called, why am I drawing a blank? Help me out here.
There's a latest diet?
Yeah, it's the non-diet. Why can't I think of what it's called?
The non-diet?
Ah,
The non-diet diet?
intuitive eating. You're supposed to listen to your body intuitively, and then that's going to help you
Oh, yeah.
get to where you need to be. And don't get me wrong. You know, I'm all about, like, don't beat yourself up. Where do you think that comes from? Is that something that you developed in college? Is that something that you developed as a child? Like, let's get deeper into it. Why do you think you love that food? Do you even love that food, or is that a habit? Blah, 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 blah. But intuitive eating, to my understanding, is like on the other end of the spectrum. They're like, they agree with all those things that I said, but it's like, if you feel like you want it, just eat it. Like, don't shame that. And sometimes you have a trigger food. Sometimes you're like, you know what? I can't have that in my house right now. I'm not saying never, but maybe right now, Jill shouldn't have a dozen cannoli in her refrigerator. Like that, and that's okay too. And sometimes you're allowed to look at something and go, well, damn, those healthy Brussels sprouts probably have 600 calories on them from all the oil and the bacon bits that are on there. And that's okay too. So like, you got to find the medium. And that's where I think most of us are just struggling.
I Googled intuitive eating. It says, and this sounds like typical of our day and age now, where, you know, everybody's soft and no accountability. But it says,
well, it's this pendulum just keeps swinging, right? Like, you're either a Republican or a Democrat. You either believe in dieting or intuitive eating, or you either like white people or black people. Like, what is this, man? What is it? Why can't we just meet in the middle and be like, okay, so diets aren't great, but we're going to act like calories don't exist either? Because if you told me that I was allowed to eat and listen to my body, I would overeat healthy in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I don't even know what full feels like. Like, I would eat myself to death on salmon and roasted Brussels sprouts. I need to budget. I need to understand calorically what's happening. I'm not saying you need to hyper focus on things, but to say that doesn't matter either.
let me just read you the definition, because it's kind of pretty funny to me that how anyone could read this and think that they'll lose weight doing this. Intuitive eating is a non-dieting approach to changing your eating habits. Intuitive eating is about trusting your body to make food choices that feel good for you without judging yourself or influence of diet culture, which is just like so stupid.
I agree with some of it, but we can't deny the fact that we don't have hormones that tell us to overeat, because for most of our time on this earth, we didn't have enough food to eat. Because think about it, don't you think somewhere along the way we did get lost?
Yeah, for sure.
Diets didn't come until we didn't feel right in our skin. And we didn't feel right in our skin once, like, the refrigerator was invented. These are not facts, guys, so please don't fact check me. It's just these are Jilliisms.
I mean, it's just like a whole industry has been created around dieting, when it, like you said earlier, it all comes down to calories in, calories out. But like somehow that's spun in a whole industry of products and books and stuff, when, like, you know, that's really what it just comes down to. It's just some people haven't figured out how to have less calories on a daily basis, and it's not an easy thing.
No, it's not. And I don't even think that's not even the right approach all the time. Like, you know, when you first started meeting with me, I didn't make you calorie count. I wasn't like, oh, your calorie. There's so many other things that need to be worked on before your relationship with calories can even like come into play. But we can't act like they don't exist. And we can't like, if you didn't know any better, you could eat 1,000 calories of freaking, you could eat honey roasted peanuts and be like, they're healthy. They came from the ground. It wasn't pizza. I felt really good about that choice. Okay, cool. But you just had 1,000 calories worth of nuts. You just consumed like 15 grams of saturated fat, and you're going to give yourself diverticulitis.
Yeah, one pack of those nuts. I just bought them the other day, so I looked. One pack is like 400, almost 450 calories. Just like
They
nuts
are.
Yeah.
And if you didn't care about calories and you were only about eating well, then that would be a way that would catch you.
Yeah.
And it's not just calories, like over consuming these things, it will lead to high blood pressure, like high cholesterol, things like that.
Yeah, so a lot of these diets could lead to other things long term, like a lot of these high fat diets,
Sure.
mentally and physically, they could lead to other things besides you reverting back to your old habits when you don't want to do it anyway.
Right.
Well, I think as we kind of start wrapping up here, we kind of already talked about why diets don't work, but I would love to, like, in a nutshell, kind of
You
reiterate.
do that to me.
Can we redo the whole thing again?
Everything you just said.
Well, I'll speak for me. I think diets don't work because, you're just setting yourself up for failure. When you tell someone not to do something, what are they going to do? They're going to do it. So if you tell yourself not to do something, you tell yourself not to eat something, you're going to do it. You're going to eat it. So, and I feel like they're also not sustainable. It's not real. Like, we were talking about keto earlier, and you can lose a bunch of weight in 2 weeks, but 2 weeks later you go back to your old diet, your old habits, you're going to be back right where you started, if not worse, because you're going up and down. So that's, as the average person, that's how I see it. But as a dietitian, how does a dietitian think? Why do they think that diets don't work?
Diets don't work because we need to meet in the middle. I don't want you dieting. I don't want you against dieting either. Like, we need to just be at peace with our emotions, with our understanding of food, with our understanding of calories, why calories even matter, how they're not the thing that we're supposed to hate, but they're the thing that gives us fuel. And once we develop our relationship with that and realize we are far luckier than we realize because we're not starving, then we can move on.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's all about the day-to-day small wins. There's no shortcuts and there's no cheating.
No, not that I found.
Well, when you find it, hopefully you'll share it with us, or you'll write a book about it. But
yeah, it's going to be called "Be on Your Bike for 8 Hours," and then you can eat.
Yeah, so I think this is a great episode. We talked about a lot, about different diets. Yeah, why they don't work. So hopefully this helps somebody else. This is our first live stream, so we'll do this again.
Check it and see if anyone could actually see it.
Yeah, I think there's something in your Facebook settings that we're missing or something. Yeah. I have to figure out, because it's live on my page, but the goal was, oh wait, it did work on your page when I tagged you.
I know, but it's showing 0. So there's something still wrong. I told you I have really bad technology issues. You don't listen to me about it. People think I'm just being like a victim, like, oh, my technology. Literally, I have negative. One of my chakras is off with technology. It's bad. It's so bad.
Well, we'll get it right next time. But so those that aren't watching live, we appreciate you watching on YouTube and listening on podcast platforms. We're doing one episode a week. I think this is our 9th episode. We're just cranking them out. Yeah. And then don't forget, we want you guys to send us questions or comments. We'd love to answer your questions or topics you want to cover. So we have an email address. You can email us your questions or your thoughts. The email address is mindbodyfoodpod@gmail.com. And I'll put a link to that in the description so you guys can email us if you have any questions or topics. And then Jillian, where can people, find more information about you or book a coaching session with you, stuff like that?
So you guys can find me on Facebook. I'll answer it if I get the notification. Or Nutritionista, you can go on Instagram. I'm Nutritionista_1. I do one-on-one appointments. You can find me, and we could either do virtual or in person. Many insurances cover, some don't. I'm worth the money. No.
I can attest to that. She's worth the money. So if you got to pay out of pocket, you pay out of pocket. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. So hopefully we'll get it live on your page next time. And yeah, guys, we thank you for watching and listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode.